Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. I'm your host, Sultan M. Hali. The third round of the strategic dialogue between Pakistan and USA concluded in Washington, D.C. last week. President Obama called President Asif Zardari. Perhaps they exchanged notes on the developments. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who led the Pakistani team, has briefed the cabinet regarding the discourse, and in all probability the parliament will be taken into confidence what has transpired there. To discuss the Pak-US strategic dialogue, we are indebted to have in our studio today former Ambassador Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, who has had a very illustrious diplomatic career in the United Nations, in USA, in New Delhi, and lately in Iraq after the Iraq invasion. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We have with us Air Vice Marshal Shahzad Chaudhry, who's not only had an outstanding career in the Pakistan Air Force, but has also led Pakistan's diplomatic mission at Sri Lanka for a number of years and is now a renowned analyst. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start the discussion, sir. Before talking about the third round, what do you think were the aspects decided in the first two rounds completed before we came to the third dialogue?
Well, first of all, it's a great privilege once again to be on your show, and I'd like also to congratulate you on your centenary, which was completed a week or two ago.
Thank you, sir.
And you know, this is the third meeting in 7 months, so it's part of a process of trying to sort of broaden the relationship and increase its dimension beyond just the security dimension, to give it a you know, socio-economic focus also. And last time groups were set up, working groups were set up to discuss cooperation.
13 of them, I believe.
Groups, 13 groups in a whole range of subjects, and all, you know, health and education and public
energy and
energy, and then there were projects for which a $500 million package was you know, announced, and I think they took note of the kind of progress that has taken place with respect to these working groups. Action plans were developed, and next steps were discussed. So there is a continuous aspect to it, and there was a review of what had been, what the follow-on was from the first and second group. So yes, this is part of a continuous process. More importantly, of course, there's a recognition that this relationship, which is extremely important to both countries, has never been a completely satisfactory relationship. To some extent that is inevitable, because the United States is a global power, and Pakistan is a regional, you know, power, and so there's always going to be a difference in the size of the canvas on which they operate.
Coming back to my original question, what transpired in the earlier two, I mean, especially one or two aspects stand out, like for example the ROZs or the Coalition Support Fund. Have they been fulfilled, sir?
Well, on the ROZs, I mean, these are supposed to be almost in lieu of getting the market access that we need, and so far as I know, there hasn't been too much progress there, but this is still the focus of discussion. I think far more important than this, from the media point of view, has been the concentration on you know, the salient issues, you know, of Afghanistan. But I think there is progress, and there is going to be, the government has, the United States administration said they would approach Congress for legislation with regard to market access and with regard to the ROZs and the enterprise fund.
Let me solicit the opinion of Air Marshal Shahzad. What's your opinion? What's been the progress so far, and how do you look at these particular talks?
No, I fully agree with the Qazi Saab in whatever he has said. The only thing that I would perhaps look at the other aspect of the dialogue is we've been trying to search for the strategic side of the dialogue ever since the team has come back, and this has been a point of discussion and all around. You know, when you look at these 13 groups, their composition, their titling and their heads are such, which is actually work in progress. I mean, when you talk of a 5-year division of the Kerry-Luga amounts of $7.5 billion, and they're intended to spend within the next 5 years. It is actually work in progress with education, health, agriculture, energy, etc., etc. Now, is 5 years strategic enough? That's an area. Now, that's so you could call it at an operational level something useful. It's more like project management, and the people who are responsible for all these areas come and report to the principals after every 3 to 4 months as to what the progress has been. So it's more like project management. But was there enough strategic issues there in the dialogue in Washington? Adding on to what Qazi Sahab has just said, I mean, it gave an opportunity, for example, to the principals to get together and talk of substantive serious issues. Now, I hope that they did that, because that was a key opportunity to be able to actually look at some strategic issues. And what are the strategic issues? I think peace and stability in the region is perhaps the most important strategic issue. I'm certain and I'm sure that the foreign minister and all his team, and including the chief army staff, were able to address issues, Afghanistan being the key there. Were we able to sort of identify a roadmap as far as Afghanistan was concerned? Yes, there are some economic areas also. You know, for example, looking at market access, looking at the ROZs, etc. Those areas. Again, the coalition support fund is something very, very tactical. It has to be done. It hasn't been done till now. So I think those are the areas that perhaps will remain in the domain of work in progress that needs to be looked at on a recurrent basis. But in terms of the strategic dimensions, and unfortunately, the strategic matters never get discussed in public. If there were any discussions, and I'm sure there were enough of those would become a part of, for example, what's going to happen in North Waziristan. Right. And again, that is again 5 to 10 years. You know, you're not talking of too long a period.
Of course.
So how strategic is strategic as far as Pakistan and US are concerned is an issue that perhaps we in Pakistan need to keep in mind.
Absolutely. So coming back to your point, sir, that this is an ongoing process. Unfortunately, in the near past, for whatever reasons, there has been a trust deficit between the US and Pakistan because of various aspects which have taken place. A couple of incidents, for example, on the eve of the talks, just about 20 days earlier, on 30th of September, we had the unfortunate NATO incursion.
Yeah.
And then we had the NATO tankers being blocked, the logistic supply was cut off, later on they were restored,
yeah,
and so on. So there was another amount of bad blood created more by the media, less by the Foreign Office, was that President Obama is visiting India but not Pakistan, which of course President Obama met our delegation there, and he clarified that he would not like to make a stopover visit. Pakistan is too important for him. He would like to make an exclusive visit. And the telephone call which he made to our president, we are not privy to what went on in that, but the foreign minister has let on that one sentence which he has used is that we cannot change the past, but we can secure the future. Your comments, sir?
Well, you see, this is a recurring pattern in US-Pakistan relationships, as I mentioned earlier, because they work on different sized canvases. And so the relationship, while central and necessary and important for both countries, you know, particularly Pakistan, the smaller country, but insofar as America's strategy in the region is concerned, Pakistan has always been an important player. However, we have not graduated, despite the rhetoric and despite the nice words and the encouraging words. The fact of the matter is that our relationship with the United States has remained contingent. By contingent, it is issue by issue. Sometimes when the Soviets occupied Afghanistan, we came together on the question of non-proliferation, which was a negative issue, but nonetheless it raised Pakistan's profile and importance. Then after 9/11 on the terrorist issue and the question of combating terrorism, once again Pakistan was brought to the forefront, not necessarily a positive basis, but the important thing here is that it is a contingent, an issue by issue. We have seen in the past whenever issues are more or less resolved, then the relationship tends to sort of, you know, fall back, and in the words of Ayub Khan, we change from being the most allied ally to the most sanctioned ally, and there's always a danger